Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined now by our Coors Light pole winner for the 57th annual Daytona 500, Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet. This Jeff's speed was 201.293 miles per hour. He's the first pole winner to eclipse 200 miles per hour since 1987. This is his 78th pole in 762 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series starts. His first pole and first top 10 start in 2015, obviously, and his fourth pole in 45 races here at Daytona International Speedway. So, Jeff, congratulations. Obviously, a big pole position for you here for obvious reasons. Just tell us your thoughts, please.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this is definitely huge for many reasons. You know, this is a one I've been stressing about for a while. You know, this format is crazy and chaotic, and it can be extremely rewarding when you have a day like we had, and to be able to bring that kind of group effort together. You know, in the past, this has been one of the easiest days I've had all year long. You know, you just go out there and hold it wide open and run a couple laps, and it's all about the team and the car and the preparations that they put into it. All that hard work still goes into this effort, but, you know, I play a bigger role, and the spotter plays a bigger role, and there's just so much more strategy and you know, trying to play this chess match and the time game, that the weight game, it just becomes really, you know, intense. So, yeah, this feels good for that reason alone. Then you add that it's the Daytona 500, the benefits that come along with that, as well as it just being the Daytona 500, and then of course all the emotion of you know, the announcement I made, you know, to start this season, knowing this is my last Daytona 500. This is a very special day.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll open up for questions. Start up here with Lee, then Bob, Stan, and Lewis.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Was part of your trepidation stemming from what almost happened at Talladega in the fall?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the one thing we really learned from Talladega is that round one, you know, your goal is just to make it in the top 24. And the way I was approaching it, the way I waited as long as I did, you know, that's what you should be doing for round three. And so, you know, that's what made it so frustrating, you know, for Alan, and why I heard about it for a while after that was, man, all we need to do is make it in the top 24. We could just rolled out there in the middle of the pack and you know, probably done that. So, you know, you learn from your mistakes, and I felt prior to Talladega, and that was the first time we had the 5-minute clock. Prior to that, I felt like I had this format down fairly well. I mean, we had good results and success. So that was definitely a lot of the stress is wanting to do it right. And then, you know, talking to our teammates, I mean, we had a meeting this morning, and we're all over the place on what the right strategy is and how we want to do it. Can we work together, you know, and should we work together? Is it better to get together, not get together? Who's wanting to get on to that? And then, you know, 30 seconds before you're getting ready to go, it all goes out the window and changes because what happened in round one and what's happening when you back off pit road. So, I mean, there's just so much, you know, going on in your mind, and it's literally like playing chess at 200 miles per hour. It's pretty crazy.
Okay, we'll go Bob, then Stan, Lewis, then Jenna.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I guess my question is, why were you so stressed? So you have enough owner points to get in. A lot of people say it doesn't matter where you start the 500, and it doesn't appear that this type of qualifying really says, well, who has, you know, the best car.
Yeah, well, I understand where you're coming from, but when you saw two cars crash in the first round, that gives me enough to be stressed about right there. I mean, it's not you know, out of the question that can happen at any time. I mean, you're slicing through, you know, some cars that maybe are by themselves that aren't up to speed, or a slower car, and you're trying to draft off of them. You got a train of cars. In the first round, I thought that I was going to miss it because we came up on a car. I was pushing Matt, I believe, and I didn't see the run that was coming behind me. Kyle was pushing, which I didn't know you could push That was new to me. That Kyle was pushing Vickers, and they went shooting by me on the inside. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? So it's wild and it's intense. I mean, it's not just what's on the line trying to win the pole for the Daytona 500. I mean, to me, every time I'm on the racetrack, I want to win. But I also don't want to embarrass myself and not make it past round one. I mean, we're Hendrick Motorsports. We're the 24 team. We have high expectations. So that in itself is somewhat stressful. But then once you make it past round one, your goal is to make it to round three after that. So, that's where it all comes to me is you're trying not to wreck and tear up your car, and you're trying to go faster than the other guys to make it there. And then once you make it in that final round, it's either pole or nothing. And I mean, we were sitting there fourth after the second round. Jimmy was first, so Jimmy was fine if nobody rolled off pit road. And I was actually somewhat okay with that. Fourth still was pretty good. So when they were waiting, we're just sitting there going, okay, we'll just wait with them. So we were in a good position where if everybody missed the clock, or even if like 4 or 5 of them made it, then it wasn't the end of the world. But once they all started to roll, then obviously, we were pretty happy to. I thought halfway through the lap I was going to miss the line, the clock at the line, but they were counting it down coming off turn 4, and I was like, okay, I think we're good here. I think we're going to make it. And once we made it, I thought we're in a really good position here to get the pole, or at least be maybe second. I thought Jimmy was probably going to get it.
Okay, we'll go Stan, Lewis, Jenna, and Don.
Stan Creekmore with Competition Plus. So you've kind of answered this already, but measure it again, if you will. How confident were you when the session started that you could take the pole, and how soon after taking the flag saying qualifying was over did you know you had the pole? Well,
I wasn't. I was confident my car was fast enough. It was just really about jockeying for position, and I felt like if I like that first round we took off, and Matt had a little bit of a gap in front of me, and then I was behind him, and there's some cars behind me, and then another group back there and stuff. And at one point I was sitting there going, uh-oh, I'm too far behind him, and I was sort of a sitting duck, and I thought, oh man, this is not going to work. Then I felt the RPMs come up, and we started getting a tow. And I was like, oh, we're good. And then Vickers went by me on the inside and pulled me back and left me outside. I was like, oh no. But then I was able to tuck back in behind Edwards and complete the lap. And actually, that second lap wasn't bad, and the third lap was a tiny bit better. So, I can't say I was super confident because you just don't know how it's all going to work out. Round 2, I thought went pretty smooth. I think I got behind the 11, and I felt like we were in a pretty good position there. The cars were a little further back behind us, but there was an intense moment. We ran, I think, our second or third lap, and I actually saw the RPMs creep up even more as we went through 1 and 2, and I thought, oh, this is going to be an even better lap. And Alan's on the radio saying, we're good, but I saw we were going faster, and he's like, don't let them get a tow from behind you. And I felt like they were far enough back that we were good enough, and we had gotten a tow off the cars in front of us. And then as we got to 3, Danny started waving because they were all checking up, and it was just chaos. They were all over the place. And that's one thing I think they need to work on this format. That's something that needs to be improved. I don't know exactly what happened with Boyer. I saw where he dove to the inside and they came together. You can't block in this format. That's just uncalled for. But when you wave off, there's got to be a better way to wave off, and I don't know if it's all cars have to go high, all cars have to go low, but all the cars have to go in one place. You can't have them 3 and 4 wide where cars are coming through there doing 20 miles per hour, faster than the cars are in. That's something that we need to do better at. And by communicating with NASCAR and the other drivers, I think we can do that. But so the only thing in the last run when we rolled off there, and I was in the position I was in, behind the 11, the 20, and he had the 18 in front of him. I had Jimmy behind me. At that moment, I thought, if we cross the line and make it, I felt like I had a 50-50 chance. I thought Jimmy had the best chance, and I thought I had, equally or almost as good of a chance, maybe not quite as good. And then it just kind of happened to work out. He closed up on me and gave me a little bit of a push, and then those guys got a little bit of a toe, and I felt like I was really good. And now it's by thousandths of or hundredths of a second, so you don't know that. But when they said pole, it was very exciting.
Okay, we'll go Lewis, Jenna, Don, and then up here in the front.
To your left here. Louis Frank, Reuters. You said you felt fairly comfortable with the time that you had, but how much does it go against your instincts from sprint car racing to winning races and championships to sit in the car not moving while the clock is counting down?
Yeah, it's it's not fun. It's not the part of it that I like, but I do like the fact that there's strategy involved. I think that's a pretty cool aspect to it. I mean, of course, all of us wish that when we're driving around any track that you're actually having to drive it, the handling playing a role and how hard you push the car. And that's just not the case here anyway. So, if you compare to what we used to do, which is really boring, this is probably the extreme the other way where it's extremely intense. But it's, when it turns out the way it did for me, then you like it. When it turns out the way it did for Boyer, then you hate it.
Okay, well, Jenna, Don, and then wrap it up with a couple here up front.
Jenna Fryer, AP. Jeff, you have been pretty clear you don't want this to be a farewell tour or anything like that, but yet you've just won the pole for the Daytona 500, and you're going to be in the spotlight the whole week. Are you ready for this?
I mean, at this moment, I'm not treating it any different than I would, a pole and a pole for the Daytona 500. I know is a big deal, and so I mean, to me, I'm approaching it the same way. I mean, my schedule's not changing, other than the little bit of work that I have to do today, when I leave here. Other than that, it's business as usual. I mean, I'm not saying I've been at the top of the limelight and attention in the sport, but I've gotten enough of it over the years to be somewhat adjusted to it. So, and when it's all fun and cool and you got fans saying positive things and other competitors saying positive things, and then it's kind of hard not to enjoy that. So, I mean, so far, I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm finding unique about this, and Alan actually told me this before the season started when I told him, that this was happening, or even after I announced to the team. He's like, I love it because you're going to have a unique mindset that you've probably never had before. And he's right. I felt it last night. I feel it right now. And that's the way I'm looking at it going into these, next couple races here this week is, it's kind of all or nothing for me. I got one last chance. I can take chances. It's not like I want to win the championship. I want points, but right now it's the Daytona 500 and all I want to focus on is win the Daytona 500. And I'm just enjoying the ride, enjoying the moment. And it's cool. I'm way less stressed than I've been in the past. Now that's going to intensify a little bit in the race. That's just me and my nature, but it's still, there's just something about it where, it's if you don't win, it's, oh well, it's not the end of the world. But boy, if you can win it, what a storybook, type of beginning to the season it would be.
Just real quick, is it fitting to you at all that you will lead the field in your final 500?
Well, we got to get through the 150s first. I'm looking forward to talking to the team and Alan about what our approach should be on that. But that's really, I mean, I can't think of anything cooler than to start this season, the Daytona 500, my final Daytona 500, final full season on the pole. So it's going to be pretty important to me to be on that pole when it all starts.